Okay, it's cloudy today, but no extreme rain that a lot of people were predicting anyways. And what did I read today? How about this first one with a lot of conflict around the world and people using drones for weaponized purposes? This one here was kind of interesting where apparently they're being used to drop things like paint. Is that just to, for example, vandalize certain places? This one here says, drone drops paint and unknown sticky substance onto Russian trade delegation's villa in Sweden. A drone flew over the Russian trade delegation's villa on an island outside Stockholm early Saturday and dumped paint and an unknown sticky substance onto the building before flying away, police said. No one was hurt and the villa wasn't evacuated, according to Ola Osterlund, press secretary for the Stockholm Regional Police. The trade delegation staff spotted the drone and saw it drop a container with the paint and unidentified substance around 5:30 a.m. local time, Osterling said. They then called Stockholm Regional Police. And according to this, I guess when the police arrived, they took samples of the quote substance, but they didn't really say anything in terms of what it was specifically. I'm assuming it's just nothing in general anyways. It probably was just to vandalize the area. And as well, they indicate they don't know who's behind it and all that. It actually makes me wonder whether or not protesters are going to start doing this. I know they have to a certain extent anyways, vandalizing properties and stuff with the drone in general, but I would imagine more people will actually do this in the future. But I guess that's kind of a contrast too in terms of all those other stories where when people see a drone, they immediately think it's a weapon or a bomb or something, whereas in this case, people saw it and they didn't immediately, I guess, react negatively per se because they didn't know what it was. Although with the hysteria, I guess, of drones for some reason over the past couple of weeks in terms of drones around airports and all that. How about this one? This one says, France aids Belgium against drones in airspace. France has joined Germany in assisting Belgium in combating drones detected in its airspace, with a French anti-drone team already deployed in Belgium on Friday. A whole unit, for example, arriving there? Is it that much of a big deal? Or at the same time, are they really that unequipped on their own to actually, let's just say, identify the drones and just take care of it? Because it does go on to say, Germany had earlier committed to supporting Belgium by providing anti-drone capabilities. Initial German Air Force units arrived in Belgium on Thursday to assess the situation and coordinate with Belgian forces on drone detection and countermeasures. Minister Franken has called for assistance from Belgium's neighboring countries to bolster anti-drone defenses. Negotiations are reportedly also underway with the United Kingdom and other nations. Well, that's crazy. Can you imagine if it actually was just something else, like it wasn't a drone as well? Or it could have just been like a really small drone where you could just easily fly your own or just detect it in some ways. I don't see why it's so difficult in these instances. It just makes you wonder again whether or not it's just convenient just so you can say, hey, these things are a menace or whatever, you need to restrict them more and so forth. Although with that in mind, this is kind of a sad story when you think about it. Here anyways, Remembrance Day is coming up, and usually around these times people have to remember what people gone through in terms of fighting for your rights and freedom. As many times a lot of people just say, oh, who cares, take away your right here and there just because it's quote annoying to you or something like that. Well, this one here, it was on, I guess, a morning show called Good Morning Britain, and it seems like they invited a former, I guess, war veteran onto the show just to talk to him, and he basically expressed how fighting in the war wasn't worth it because in his opinion, from what I gather, from what he sees today, it's worse in terms of people's freedom and all that. So it's kind of crazy. You can see the interview here.
The sacrifice wasn't worth the result that it is now.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
What do you mean by that, though? At this point?
What we fought for, and what we fought for was our freedom. We find that even now, it's darn sight worse than what it was when I fought for it.
I mean, just in terms of what's happening in that area, I can only judge based on what I've currently heard anyways. I mean, people getting potentially arrested just because they're expressing their opinions on certain subject matters. I mean, that's something to think about, especially for things like drones, for example. People chipping away your rights slower and slower. I mean, even thinking about it, at first, a lot of people were in agreement. Yes, taking them away, for example, they're dangerous, restrict the recreational flyer, or hey, if you do this, you'll lose your rights. But look what happened, for example. It was officials that crashed their drones into manned aircraft, or other stories in recent times, for example, where the allegations are the RCMP or whatever, they flew their drones recklessly around those ostriches, causing one to get killed. Yet for some reason, it's the quote recreational person that they target. Like for example, changing those restrictions for like advertised events and so forth. I mean, not surprisingly, all the fake gurus or people that perpetuated that narrative of fear mongering, you got nothing to say afterwards, where you can fly it perfectly safe and all that, but they'll still take it away. But like in this example, people who actively participated in the war and so forth, maybe you should listen if they start seeing warning signs, for example, in terms of things that don't look quite right, especially from what they've experienced. It's kind of like those stories how I read about people, let's just say, immigrating to different countries because they wanted to get away from whatever, like some kind of communist regime or something like that. They even say, hey, I've been through that. You better listen. This is exactly what happened over there. I mean, maybe you should, because those people have more experiences when it comes to stuff like that too. Will people actually take it seriously in that regards? I don't know. And ironically too, in these cases, usually the saying is never forget, for example, like during those times, but I guess people do forget so quickly, huh? See you guys later.